The mist on the Serengeti hung low and heavy like a gray blanket pulled tight. Everything was quiet except the water. Senior Ranger Peter Timbo lifted his binoculars, the leather strop soft from years of sweat and sun. 23 years in Serengeti National Park had taught him to notice the small things, but nothing in all those years had prepared him for what he was about to see. The radio crackled in his truck. Base to Ranger Timbo. Unusual lion activity near Grid Delta 7. Multiple distress calls. Over. Copy, he said, voice steady, fingers worn and sure. En route, ETA 15 minutes. What Timbo didn't know as he navigated the rutted dirt road toward the river bend was that his next decision would challenge every protocol he'd learned, every safety regulation he'd followed, and every assumption he'd made about the relationship between humans and Africa's apex predators. He took a sip from his dented thermos, lukewarm coffee bitter on his tongue, and drove toward the bend he knew by heart. The river was swollen and angry, a brown, fast-moving muscle. Overnight rain upstream had turned the calm current into a rush of force. And out there, about 50 yards from shore, a young male lion fought the water. 4 years old, maybe, his mane just starting to thicken. He was big, strong, and losing. Timbo killed the engine. Through the windshield, he saw why. Upstream, a fallen tree had shifted the river's path, funneling water where it didn't belong. The lion had likely tried to cross at a usual shallow spot and been swept into the chute. Every stroke was weaker than the last. Every time his head dipped under, it stayed under a little longer. Then Timbo saw the rest, and his blood ran cold. Across the river, 6 lions formed a half-circle on the opposite bank, the Mwamba pride. He knew them. Casey, the old matriarch with the scar over her eye, stood nearest the water, ears forward, eyes fixed on the struggling male. 4 lionesses paced behind her, restless but afraid of the deep. At the rear, the big black-maned male, Tao, stood still as a statue, watching everything. They were calling. Deep, low, urgent sounds. Those sounds rolled across the water like a drum beat. Every now and then, one of the females stepped into the shallows and then backed out, torn between fear and love. If you've ever watched someone you love in trouble and felt helpless, you know that feeling. Timbo reached for his satellite phone. Protocol was clear. Never intervene in predator situations. Observe and report.
He raised the phone anyway. Base, this is Timbo at Delta 7. Young male lion in the river. Pride present. Advise. Negative on intervention, came the answer, quick as a slap. Document only. Do not engage. What do you do when the rule book says no and a life is slipping away? Timbo understood the rules, but he also knew the truth. This wasn't all natural. Human roads, human boats, human erosion, it all added up. The river he loved was different now because of people. The lion's head went under again. When it burst back up, he let out a sound Timbo would never forget. It wasn't a roar, it was a cry, a scared, drowning cry. Across the water, Casey answered with a low, aching call. The others joined in until the air seemed to vibrate. Timbo's heart clenched. He found himself walking toward the bank before his mind had decided to go. He moved fast. Inflatable rescue boat from the back. CO2 hissed as it filled. Life jacket buckled tight. Knife checked. Rope checked. His hands worked on automatic, the way they had when he'd pulled tourists from sandbars and once a drunk fisherman from a capsized canoe. He glanced up. Every lion on the far bank was watching him. Not a single snarl, not a single threat. If anything, it looked like hope. "Hang on, big fella," he said into the wind, though the lion couldn't hear him. "I'm coming." He pushed off. The current grabbed the boat like a toy. Spray hit his face. The water was colder than it looked. He fought to angle the bow toward the struggling cat. Closer now, he could see it. A web of fishing net and plastic sheeting wrapped around the lion's hind leg, cutting deep. Human trash, isn't that just like us? He thought. Causing the problem and then showing up with the fix. Easy, he said, voice calm and low. I'm here. The lion's eyes met his, gold, clear, tired but focused. No threat there, no rage, something else maybe. He didn't know. Only that the animal didn't strike when the boat bumped his side.
Timbo leaned out, the boat rocking, and slid his knife under the first strand. 1 cut. 2. He felt the net loosen a little. The Pride moved along the bank, keeping pace, voices rising and falling like a chorus. Casey was opposite him now, steady as a sentry. He cut carefully, slow as prayer. The lion held still, except for the heavy rise and fall of his ribs. With the final slice, the net fell away. Freedom! The lion's body changed in an instant, his strokes deeper, surer, but the river still wanted them both. "Sandbar," Timbo said, spotting a pale patch downstream. "We go there." He paddled hard. The lion swam beside him, not against him. It felt, for a few surreal minutes, like teamwork. The Pride knew too. 2 lionesses jogged along the bank and stopped opposite the sandbar, calling, as if to guide him home. Up on high ground, Tao watched like a king at a ceremony. The boat scraped sand. The lion's paws touched bottom. He stood, water streaming from his coat, sides heaving. He was alive. Timbo stayed where he was, giving space. The lion took a few wobbly steps, then he turned back. They looked at each other across that little strip of water. The lion dipped his head and held it there. 3 heartbeats, maybe 4. How do you explain a moment like that? You don't. You feel it. Then the Pride flooded in. Casey reached him first, pressing her face to his, checking every inch, making soft, happy sounds Timbo had only ever heard between a mother and her cubs. The others surrounded him with a rumble of relief. And then something happened no book had prepared Timbo for. Tao broke from the group and walked straight toward him. 400 pounds of muscle and teeth closing the distance. Timbo felt every old instinct scream, but Tao's ears were forward. His tail was easy. He wasn't hunting. He was considering. 10 feet away, Tao lowered his front end in a slow, deliberate bow. He held it. Then he stepped back, not looking away.